7 years. That's how long Tom Bauer has been following threads that every other journalist refused to touch. 7 years of forensic patience, legal threats, public attacks, and relentless pressure to stop asking questions that powerful people desperately did not want answered. And now, in 2026, something has fundamentally changed because Tom Bauer is no longer hinting. He is no longer suggesting. He is stating, plainly, publicly, and on the record, that the walls are closing in on Meghan Markle from multiple directions simultaneously. And the forces closing in are not tabloid reporters or royal commentators. They are the IRS, U.S. immigration authorities, child services investigators, and a mainstream media that has, until very recently, given Meghan Markle a level of protection that frankly defies explanation. Stay with me, because what follows is not a hit piece. It is not speculation. It is a careful, detailed examination of everything Tom Bauer has put on the record, everything serious researchers have been piecing together for years, and everything that is now, right now in 2026, beginning to surface in ways that can no longer be controlled, suppressed, or explained away with a carefully worded press statement from a Montecito mansion. And once you understand how all of these pieces fit together, you will never look at this story the same way again. Let's start with the money, because money is always where the truth lives. Tom Bauer has been sounding the alarm on Sussex finances for over 2 years. At the time, some people dismissed it as commentary from a man with an axe to grind. But look at where things stand today. Look at what has happened to every single revenue stream the Sussexes built their post-royal life around, and ask yourself whether Tom Bauer got a single thing wrong. The Netflix deal is gone. A relationship that was supposed to generate prestige, relevance, and serious money has effectively collapsed. The documentary, the series pitches, the grand vision of building a media empire from a Montecito mansion, all of it evaporated. As Bauer put it with forensic precision, she had nothing to offer. His words, she had nothing to offer other than smiling with a lot of non-entities. Harsh? Absolutely. Accurate? Look at the numbers. The Spotify deal was arguably even more catastrophic, a reported contract worth tens of millions of dollars. And what did the world receive in return? 13 episodes of a podcast that the streaming giant itself ultimately decided wasn't worth continuing. When Spotify walks away from a deal that size, it is not a minor business setback. It is a public verdict on your commercial viability. Then there's The Jam, American Riviera Orchard, launched with enormous fanfare, carefully staged photographs, celebrity gifting, and a meticulously crafted image of domestic elegance. And then, almost nothing. The Jam isn't selling. The brand is struggling to generate the commercial momentum that would justify even a fraction of the hype surrounding its launch. The lifestyle empire that was supposed to make Meghan the next Martha Stewart has become one of the most publicly visible brand failures in recent celebrity history. And here's the number that Tom Bauer keeps returning to, the number that sits at the center of everything. Their lifestyle costs a minimum of £3 million per year after tax. $3 million. That is the floor, not the ceiling, of what it costs to maintain the Montecito mansion, the security detail, the staff, the travel, the wardrobe, and everything else that goes into performing the lifestyle of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Now add the cost of launching a commercial brand, add ongoing legal battles with British tabloids, add the public relations professionals working around the clock to manage a narrative that keeps threatening to collapse, add the private travel that befits people who still insist on being treated as royalty, even though they walked away from the institution that gave them that status. The real number is almost certainly substantially higher than £3 million. And against that expenditure, ask yourself what is actually coming in. Netflix gone, Spotify gone, The Jam not moving. The podcast canceled. Speaking fees drying up because you cannot command premium rates when your approval rating sits at 20%, and brand partners are running in the opposite direction. So when your income dries up but your spending doesn't, who comes knocking in America? The answer has a very specific name, the Internal Revenue Service. And the calls for an IRS investigation into Sussex finances are not coming from fringe bloggers. They are coming from people who understand how American tax law works and who are looking at the gap between reported income and visible lifestyle expenditure and asking serious, legitimate questions. When the numbers don't add up while you're living in a multi-million-dollar estate and flying privately, the IRS doesn't just notice, it investigates. Tom Bauer saw this coming. He said clearly more than 2 years ago, they are rapidly burning through their cash and they don't know how they're going to keep funding this lavish lifestyle. He was right then, he is right now. But the financial story is only one thread, because there's another story, one the mainstream American media has been extraordinarily reluctant to pursue: Prince Harry's U.S. visa. This is not complicated. American immigration law is not ambiguous on this point. Drug use, specifically the use of hard drugs, is grounds for visa denial. It is one of the clearest, most consistently enforced provisions in the entire U.S. immigration framework. And yet Prince Harry, in his own memoir, written in his own words and recorded in his own voice for the audio version, openly and explicitly admitted to using cocaine, cannabis, and magic mushrooms. Thousands of ordinary people are denied U.S. visas every single year for far less than what Harry admitted in Spare. People who disclose far more minor transgressions on immigration paperwork, a single drug-related incident decades in the past, find themselves blocked from entering the country entirely. So the question being asked, not just by critics of Harry, but by immigration lawyers and legal analysts who have examined his situation, is very simple. Is there one rule for ordinary people and another rule entirely for a British prince residing in a Montecito mansion? Tom Bauer highlighted this with the kind of quiet, devastating precision that has made him one of the most effective investigative authors working today. He pointed out that Harry didn't just write this material, he read it aloud. He endorsed every word of it, on the record, in his own voice for global distribution. Bauer's assessment of what this revealed was characteristically blunt: a complete lack of self-awareness, a total failure to understand reality, the behavior of someone who simply did not grasp the damage he was inflicting on himself. The Heritage Foundation filed a Freedom of Information Act request to examine Harry's visa application. That request was initially blocked. The question of whether special treatment was applied, whether political pressure was brought to bear to protect Harry's residency status in a way that would never be extended to an ordinary immigrant, has never been properly answered, and in a political environment that is specifically hostile to exactly that kind of double standard, the question is getting louder, not quieter. Now there is a third thread, and I want to address it carefully because it involves questions that deserve to be handled responsibly. Serious researchers, not fringe voices, but people who have done extensive documented work, have raised consistent questions about Meghan's biography, about her age, about the timeline of her life before she became a minor cable television actress on a show called Suits, about a period that is now being referred to as her Mediterranean years. Tom Bauer has been forensic on the subject of Meghan's ambition. His assessment: a woman of enormous ambition and total ruthlessness, but a woman without much talent. He describes a 5-year-old girl standing on a Hollywood red carpet saying, "Daddy, I want to do this. I want to be the star." That ambition drove decisions and associations throughout her adult life that are now becoming visible. What Bauer and serious researchers are now openly discussing is this: ambitious women in Hollywood who wanted access to powerful rooms have always found ways to get into those rooms. and the claim that Meghan Markle was a guest on multiple yachts in the Mediterranean before she ever met Prince Harry, a claim that has circulated in certain media spaces for years, is no longer being treated as a fringe allegation. It is now being asked as a direct question by mainstream media figures. Not whether she was on those yachts, but the scale of it. That is a significant and unmistakable shift in the conversation. And then there is the meeting itself. The official narrative is one of the most successful pieces of mythology in modern royal history. Two people meet by chance through a mutual friend. They fall in love, a fairy tale. Except Tom Bower and serious researchers have been asking for years whether that meeting was in fact engineered deliberately by people with serious money, serious connections, and a very specific interest in placing Meghan Markle in front of Prince Harry. The name Marcus Anderson keeps coming up in this context, a well-connected member of the Soho House set who has remained extraordinarily close to Harry and Meghan long after virtually everyone else in their social circle has been ghosted, discarded, or publicly denounced. Bower himself has noted that Meghan is quite ruthless in dropping people, so why has Marcus Anderson survived that cull? In any investigation, the person who survives the purge is always the most interesting person in the room. Now look at the numbers, because the numbers tell the whole story. In YouGov polling released recently, the late Queen sits at 81% positive, Princess Diana at 77%, William at 76%, Catherine at 75%. Even King Charles, navigating enormous personal and institutional controversy, sits at 60%. Harry, 30%, a man who once rivaled the Queen herself in popularity, a man who was genuinely beloved, now sitting at 30%, with 70% of his own countrymen viewing him negatively, and Meghan, 20%. 8 out of 10 people in the United Kingdom view her negatively. No mainstream brand wants to be associated with a 20% approval rating. No serious media partner wants that relationship. No Hollywood door opens easily for someone that 8 out of 10 people view negatively. Tom Bower has been clear about what happens when William becomes king, and with King Charles's health concerns well documented, that question is no longer abstract. Bower's assessment: William will move decisively. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles, gone. Harry's Prince title, gone. The children's titles, gone. Clean, complete, final. A closing of the door so thorough and so definitive that there will be no way back, no negotiation, no pathway to rehabilitation. Harry knows this, and that knowledge is written all over his behavior. The IRS questions are not going away. The immigration questions are not going away. The questions about Meghan's past, the Mediterranean years, the engineered meeting, the timeline questions, none of it is going away. If anything, it is getting louder. More voices, more mainstream, more urgent. Tom Bower opened a door, and now the people walking through it are not just royal commentators. They are investigators, financial analysts, immigration lawyers, and tax specialists, asking the specific technical questions that arise when numbers don't add up and official narratives strain credibility past the breaking point. The question is no longer whether this story will be told fully. The question is simply when. And based on everything surfacing right now, the answer appears to be very soon.